Welcome back. Hello. Happy Monday. Welcome to Divine Masculine Mondays. We're here with the very special John Tran and an excellent guest I'm excited to have with us today. John, once you are on Instagram watching me, let me know.
I'm watching you.
Love that.
He's watching.
So good. Private eyes. Here we go. We're coming in live in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Boom!
Did we get it?
Yes.
Yes.
Celebrate! Thank you, all of you, for coming back on Instagram if you were with us before. So make sure your volumes are down on your phones. And I just want to say happy Monday to everyone. Wherever you are today, please just type in the comments what city you're in and one thing you're excited about today. And if you're not excited about something, make something up. Just type that in. We'll give you a second to do that. Hey, Adrian. While you're telling us where you're coming from and what you're excited about today, I would like to say good morning and afternoon to Mr. John Tran in Houston, Texas.
Morning, Ben.
Morning, John. Would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yes.
I'd love
Wow, I'm so excited to have Candace Danforth here. Candace is evolving you, and she's an amazing coach, a beautiful soul on this planet, and she's got some really cool topics that we're going to talk about today that have been really instrumental on my journey about learning who I am. So I'm excited to have you on here, Candace.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Yay.
Yes.
Candace, for people who don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, a little bit about me. I always love this question because it's like, where do I even
Tell us
start?
whatever you want to tell us.
Yes.
2 minutes or less.
In 2 minutes or less. I'm an embodiment coach. So basically, I help people get out of their own way, like I once did with myself, and I continue to do. So I really focus a lot on people pleasing, self-sabotaging behavior, because this was something that I healed in myself. And I continue to heal. It's never fully healed, right? And so through that, I developed a lot of my program around helping people through that, the people pleasing aspect and where that comes from. I do a lot of inner child work and ego stories and all the things. And it really helps people kind of realize and be able to speak their own truth, because really what it comes back to is understanding who you are and being able to own that and not be afraid to show up. And a lot of the reason why we are people pleasers is because we have a fear around, we don't really know who we are. And that's what I found for myself is I wasn't owning anything. I didn't know who I was. So therefore in my relationships and my friendships, I would almost put up a mask. I would put up a facade, and that actually made me even more upset. And I found that I would find my relationships, I would find myself being resentful, and it's easy to blame outwardly. And I realized a lot of this was needed to focus inward. And so I help people on that same path. And that's a little bit about me.
Where do I sign up? Let's do it.
Let's do it. I love it.
Man, I'm just going to jump right in because people pleasing and self-sabotage, I have had a master's degree in that as well. Totally relate. And a lot of the work I see coming up for everyone, it's universal for sure. And I know you had a situation in your current life that love to hear about soon. We'll talk about the goods for how we can use these tools in our day-to-day life now, right? So everyone's watching like, this is great, it's great that y'all are doing great, but what can we do at home, the people that are there? And I just want to say real quick, we asked you all what you're excited about today and where you're coming from, and 2 people responded. So Belle Joey said Ottawa, Canada. Hey,
nice.
And excited for my sister delivering my niece today at the hospital. Wow.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Beautiful. So I want to send a lot of positive healing energy to you. And we also had, Art of Inner Joy is listening from London and painting my yantra. I don't even know what a yantra is, but it sounds awesome.
It's like a yantra is like a mandala that you draw. Like I don't know if you know about the Sri yantra. It's like all the interlocking triangles.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a meditation. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
She's a beautiful artist. Energy healing through her art. She's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
So
check her out.
Definitely, we will.
Yeah.
So one of the things we wanted to talk about today was communication, breakdowns in relationships, attachment styles, things we deal with around abandonment. And then I think it's great to loop in some of this self-sabotage and people-pleasing stuff. I see so many people dealing with that regularly, and even as a coach who helps people with that, I know personally I still have to check myself regularly and apply these things. Like these, you're never just healed, right? But it's a daily reprieve. So it's so awesome to have coaches, and that's why I love coaches, just to be around people who have these amazing, fascinating tool bags of things that we can use, and especially around inner child work and the work with play and the work you do with laughter and all of those important things that I think adults stop giving ourselves permission, and actually creates more conflict in relationships because we're not, a lot of people pleasing and neediness can come from not having our needs met and not knowing how to meet our own needs. So I just see a lot of great opportunities here for talking about how to do that and empower ourselves. And listen, we know we can't control other people, but we can work on ourselves. So let's talk about that some, and how to move the needle for some of our listeners at home. What do you think, John?
I like this topic, and I like the way you said move the needle, because like if you look at a record player, there's like this needle, right? And the needle sits on the center of the track, right? The song. So where you are is you're in your center, and when you're people pleasing, your needle's not on your center. It's actually off of the record. It's outside of you. So you're externally trying to please something out of fear of that person abandoning you. So you please the outside, and then it inadvertently sabotages your inside. So that's where your self-sabotage is. And I do catch myself sometimes, am I people pleasing in this moment, or am I abandoning my own needs? And that's just a powerful awareness. I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I don't feel like we talk about this enough. Like I know lately we've been talking about traumas and just like looking at the surface level of the traumas and the triggers, but diving into like a specific thing, like why do we people please? Is it everything we do, we act out of either love or fear? So if I'm people pleasing, is it because I love this person, or is it because I'm fearing like being alone? So yeah, so I want to know what you guys are feeling about this, but it's powerful. I've caught myself in these loops before.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was for me. It was this fear of, and I feel like when I think about my family dynamic of growing up, and there's so many, I always touch on different parts of it, but there's so many different things that happened that led me to my own fears growing up. And I feel like this is for all of us in many ways, because my family, my parents were, I don't know if you could say coddled me a bit, because I was the only product of them. And then they had previously been in different marriages. And so it was always like, because I was only theirs, they definitely had a tight hold on me, and wanted the best for me. There was so much positivity involved in that, but then there was also, I had an anxious attachment style for many years because of that, and fearing that, like, I don't know what to do without them, right? And they were always there for me no matter what. But then there was also these, they would get in really intense fights, and they were very passionate with each other. Like one second they were like, we're getting a divorce. And hearing that as a child, in these, you know, when you're witnessing a fight of a parent, it's scary. And a lot of my anxiousness came from this, like, it can get taken away from you so quickly, even though they never ended up ever getting divorced, and they actually continued to work on themselves throughout their lives, which has been an amazing thing to witness. But I had to have that awareness, like John was saying. I had to start showing up and understanding where and why I was reacting like this in my relationships. So then you have this forgiveness too. For everybody, I hope not.
Yeah,
your signal's a little freezy, but I think you're back. There you go.
Yeah,
you had so much
freeze?
magic coming out. It just
there we go.
The internet couldn't handle it.
I know, that's so bad. I've never had this many devices going at once, so maybe that's it.
You're doing great.
But yeah, it really, I don't know where you guys left off, but so much of my attachment styles came from that awareness, and I had to understand why this happened. And then in that too, I was actually able to forgive my parents for things that I subconsciously was holding on to, things that I was upset about. And that's the beauty of having really doing the inner work. It's not like this just goes away once I started to realize these things. I'm aware in every relationship. I'm highly aware of how I'm showing up. And just like John was saying, this questioning, like, am I people pleasing, right? Am I doing this for myself, or is this showing up again? And that's kind of this road that I took. But it really had to go. I had to do the inner child work and understand why I was reacting the way I did. I thought, you know, it was okay to be passionate, like in this like really big way in relationships, but it didn't actually work out like that. I actually was very needy and needed approval constantly. And so that's where I really started to realize that I had that attachment style personally.
I'm like resonating with a lot of this. Yeah.
And if you're listening at home, please tell us what's resonating with you there as well.
I have a challenge too for everyone at home. If you know your attachment style, and if you're okay sharing it, or where you've been, or your experience with attachment styles, please share in the comments, because we like to hear from you guys. Just make sure you get a pulse from you. Make sure you're alive and listening.
You're still with us.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll call myself out as anxious attachment. I'll go first.
Yes, me too.
Oh, we're all together.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I had another sibling, and my mom, even, I remember her saying, like, I don't think I did. I kind of resented having another kid. I don't think I really did give you the love you needed for the first couple of years, and yet I felt so loved by her. But even these little things under there, and parents, God bless you, like, everyone's doing their best. Everyone's human. And of course you're going to traumatize your child along the way. It's kind of how we grow and learn together, right? But and with awareness, I was laughing when you're saying that, because with awareness sometimes comes responsibility, right? It's really hard to ignore it once you see it, and then you start seeing it everywhere, and that can feel overwhelming. So developing compassion for yourself through this awareness, I found this really, really important. And you know, for my attachment styles, as much as I've studied and worked through it, I've had to practice it in the moment, like in relationships, because almost nothing can prepare you for your triggers. You know, it's just those things in certain people. So I've now tried to, I heard this beautiful thing today with my theta healing teacher, Daniel Tuttle, and he was talking about when we're dealing with difficult people in our life, or relationships, or people that maybe quote unquote trigger us or challenge us, that rather than thinking about trying to survive around them, or oh, I don't want that, or why is this person so difficult, to think about them. You get this metaphor of you being by yourself out in the ocean. Because some of us, when we're going through this stuff, we feel really alone. And you're out in the ocean in a small boat, but you're out in the middle of the sea, and those people are actually swimming around you. But what if you could start inviting them into your boat, and just loving them and learning them and accepting that we're just all connected and they're actually part of us and we're part of them. There's something about them that's attracted us to them. So can we learn from that and practice with them? And I just thought that was a really beautiful way of thinking about it. Like, I mean, because practicing boundaries is really important. So you don't always want to bring toxic people closer, right?
Yeah.
But it's just about the fact that we are really just all connected, and it's like I just think of us like these big kids running around, trying to work our stuff out. And if we could just like hold a little more space for each other, or be like, oh, you like hugs, I like hugs. Oh, your love is, you like to this way, I like that way, and you can just open and learn. Because I think most of what we're dealing with is fear, right? So much fear of. I remember my parents saying they wanted to get divorced a lot, and that they would, and even starting to beg them to, because of how much I couldn't deal with that back and forth. And so we're all just trying to survive. I think be loved, held, accepted, and even avoidant attachment styles where you push away is still a way of trying to get love, like pushing someone away so that they'll come closer, right? So my wife and I all the time talk about that dance that we do, and we're trying to actually still figure it out sometimes. Like, are we in this drama dance that we learned, or is this something that we're creating, or is this like, can we free ourselves of this? And I think it starts with that awareness. And so I just love talking about it in hopes that people may gain some awareness from it. So I said a lot. I'll be quiet now. I'm curious what's resonating over there with you guys.
Go, Candace.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, because you were saying you were anxious attachment too, John, right? Like where did that show up for you in your relationships or connections?
What's weird is I feel like they're in certain relationships, depending on the partner, what some will bring out an avoidant attachment style in me, and then I'm like, oh man, I don't want to call them back, or like I need my space, because they're so in their anxious, and they tend to smother up my boundaries, and I start to avoid. And then there's other ones where they're avoidant, and it creates that vacuum, so then I get anxiously attached, and then I've been in really secure relationships, so we're able to be ourselves. So I know I tend to lean more towards the anxious spectrum, and I've been an avoidant before. But one thing that's resonating with me, what you said, Ben, is just like that awareness. And I feel like it all comes back to how can we be aware of these things? And it's those 5 F's: the fear, flight, freeze, and fawn. So anytime like I'm in a relationship and there's a fight, or there's a moment where I'm like, my nervous system feels like I got to get out of here, or I start to fawn and like, how can I people please you? I don't want to fight anymore. When those F's pop up, I know that I'm in my survival mechanism. I'm in my ego mind. My nervous system's tripping out, and it's just really breath to bring it back. Just slow it down, come back to my parasympathetic nervous system breath, and then I can say, wow, was I people pleasing, or am I truly like loving this person, and it's triggering. So for me, that's where the awareness is, and it's okay to be aware of what attachments are and which triggers are, but like, how do you know when it's happening in the game, like right in the moment, and how can you like really sit with it and heal it just by sitting through it, like letting it work its course. So
I love that. You just like that hit, because that I have the same thing. It's certain people that bring out an avoidant attachment style in me as well. It's just, and we're all meant to learn from each other and understand that person's a mirror. So the more that you can really show up and understand that they're there to exactly what you were doing, take a step. And I do a lot of beat tracking, with my clients, because I find that that's incredibly helpful to connect your mind, body, and soul, to understand what that feels like in your body. Because you, like, I have a lot of fire energy in me, Leo energy, and but that can get triggered very easily. And I've learned through breath, meditation, just being still, even like my comedy and just making people laugh. That's another tool that I use that actually helps me I get out of my own way with that. It helps me recognize that I'm sitting in pain too much, or I'm too hyper focused on something. And when I start to feel that heat, especially in the heart, is when I start to notice, like, okay, I'm being triggered right now. This is hitting a nerve. What is this nerve? And I need to take a step back. I used to be the one that would try and fix it. So like, I got to fix this. Like, you need to talk to me. And then if you're with somebody who has an extreme avoidant attachment style, and now you're finding yourself like, triggered, and then you're like, no, I need you to explain yourself to me. Like, why? It was always so difficult when, like, I have a hard time being ignored. Like, I find that to be such a, I used to use heavier words around it, like cowardly and things like that. But I don't use those types of words to describe behavior as much anymore, because I just find them to be incredibly negative. When in actuality, every way that we act is really from a trauma that we've experienced in some way. Narcissistic behaviors it's a trauma, but we like to classify everyone as just, oh, they're a narcissist, they're negative. And it's like, well, there's a reason why that's showing up in their life. And like you were saying, Ben, the more that we can actually allow people in and connect and try and understand each other, as opposed to just instantly want to push each other away, like, you're being weird. Like, you're kind of crazy.
Wrong with you? Yeah. Why are you being all dramatic about this?
Yeah. You're actually perpetuating that same cycle in that individual when you're not actually trying to understand them.
Oh my God.
What I always see, right?
Can I share a quick loop that I got in with my wife yesterday?
Yeah.
I really hope this will help someone. So we're walking back from the beach. We've had an amazing meditation and time together. But there was some energy we had picked up that wasn't even ours, we felt like. And I could feel like the anxiousness starting to come up, and we had 20 minutes left to hang out, and it was our connection time, and I was getting really stressed out in my anxious avoidant thing. That little kid was coming up, and my wife just had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't know how long it was going to take, or on the beach we were going to be really far away. And I was like, okay, then after that. She's like, well, I don't know what after that. And I'm like, but this is our walk time, And she's like, well, I gotta pee. And I'm like, okay, but then should I come with you? She's like, I don't know. And she could feel me getting anxious. And inside I'm thinking, Ben, you just need to go for a run right now. You need to go care for yourself. And I kept getting mad at her, and then she was gone 10 minutes, and our time was shot. And I called her, and I was like, I could feel it. Why are you calling her? And then it hit me. Wow, I don't know where she is. I want to go for a run. Could I just go for a run? And it was so freeing. I put my phone down, and I just started running, and I knew we had a meetup spot, so I just ran back and forth. I could keep my eye on it. And then I went swimming, and I showed up, and we got there. It turns out we had both cared for ourselves. But on the way back, we were talking about it, and she said, I just need you to support me today. I'm starting my period. I'm having a lot of emotions. I'm doing my best to be kind to you, but I'm not feeling kind, and I'm feeling really on edge. We have company here, and I just need you not to be needy or try to need me to take care of you today. And I just got so triggered, because needy was the thing I've been called before, and I've worked so hard on not being needy. So for someone to say I need you not to be needy today, triggered me so bad. So we started doing this loop, this dance of me saying, well, I heard you, but you can't communicate and then say something hurtful in your communication, expect me not to have a reaction. And she's like, well, clearly you're not even understanding me right now, or you have to make it about yourself again. So we're looping, trying to get each other, but just re-triggering each other. and I was trying to explain that to her, and she was like, dude, you cannot be a coach right now. Like, you know, so eventually what we learned is we needed to just like let it go. And we both needed to cry too. Like, we've been grieving. So there's all these emotions, and we were trying to make it work together, but sometimes just taking that apart for a second, like letting it fill our bodies and realizing that there's stuff that's going on that's not ours, and sometimes trying to even work it out together isn't like more trying to make it work doesn't always happen. Just holding space for each other and watching, like afterwards I said, oh my god, babe, I finally got it. Like, I was totally freaked out and like afraid, and I realized we're moving this week, so I'm really scared, and I was feeling needy. I didn't even know it, and you were probably picking up on that and preparing me, and I was picking up on that. And isn't that interesting that we've just been in this weird stupid dance, and we laughed about it and then moved on. So even when you're both aware, it can take work. And I just share that story to say, like, you know, none of us are healed. This is all a process. Like, I turn into an angry, fearful child on a drop of a dime. But if we can take responsibility for our parts and just try on, this is the full circle thing to come back to, is like, can we just try on another person's point of view? Because most of the time when we're in conflict is because we want someone to see our way, and we think if they could just see our way, then we'll be fine. And then, but what we're doing is we're not even making any space to see theirs. So if we could just, like you said, Candace, maybe try on a different perspective, or even when someone's saying something that's triggering, to think like, oh wow, that's an interesting point of view. Rather, that's like a great tool to just immediately put a little space between you and them, and to listen maybe from a different perspective. So for what it's worth, I wanted to share that.
I love that. I think, like, and just like what John was saying too, being able to like breathe through that in that moment, that's the hardest part. Like, what you experienced, it's like you're in the moment with your wife, you're having these, like, you're like, we're doing a good job, but now we're not doing a good job, and now we're doing a good job, and you're so focused on this, like, you know, we're like, we can go back and forth.
When I forgot, I broke down crying, and so I walked away to go take care of myself, and she finally was like, Ben, and I'm like, what? And I kept walking, and she was like, why are you walking away? And I was like, because I'm trying to take care of myself. And she was like, well, now I want to give you a hug. And I was like, there's the dance, right? Like, I finally walked away, cut off the cord, and now she wants to come in. So it was like, it was just hilarious, right? So if we can just like call ourselves out, it can be helpful to see what our patterns are, so that we can break through this. Because if it's not in this relationship, it's going to show up on the next one.
It's going to show up.
Right? It follows you. That's the thing that sucks. But it's the great thing is that we can do something about it, right? Because it's not about them, really. Like, we can just work on us.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know. That's the thing, why taking time for yourself, you don't even know what's going on sometimes with you, like why you're reacting the way that you're reacting, why you're showing up like this. And it takes a minute of self-care, or however long you need to just, like, you went on a run, right? Like, okay, I need to like let myself be for a minute, because I'm trying to communicate from a place where I'm not even understanding what my truth is right now, what I'm trying, like where I'm coming from, what my emotions are.
And I used to make women wrong for having fiery emotions.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because I couldn't deal with my own, I found out. And so now I go into the fire. Like, I go run to chase the fire, to like put it somewhere so it won't go into my relationship. Like, it needs to come out, you know? And then I go dive in a freezing cold ocean or shower or something to like cool it down, you know? So be responsible. Like, you got to balance yourself. But that fight or flight, I talk about here a lot, like running, exercise, getting in your body. I mean, you all know, like, Candace, you're an embodiment coach, you know. John's incredible in that too, and inside of the yoga, like all of us have these movement backgrounds, because you've got to get out of your head and into your body. You've got to let these things move, or they will fester and turn into cancer, or turn into those things that like can eat you alive. And it's a ripple effect around the people. So if you start in your life, so if you start with yourself, I feel like, you know, if you just focus on yourself, I know it sounds counterproductive, but like it might actually help your partner. You might see shifts in them, because if you quit needing things from them, they can change inside of a listening. Like you can listen to them differently too. It takes work, practice, but it's an opportunity, right? You can practice in your friendships. Everybody has a friend they can only handle so much of, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you are that friend. I don't know. I could be for someone, but we could just practice like a little bit.
I practiced a lot with my friends. I that's actually, especially in this time span that I've been single and needing to have been single. I did a lot of my, how I was showing up, how I would, I knew that like I would get triggered by friends with, I almost like when I decided to take time for myself, I actually started to remove myself from even feeling like I could trust anybody. I didn't actually want to talk about anything anymore, where I was like an open book for a very long time, just like, oh yeah, and then I did this, and I know, isn't it crazy? And then I started to realize I was the friend that always had stories, and I was actually starting to feel kind of ashamed of my own stories. And I then took a very interesting turn and then just stopped sharing altogether. Like nobody needs to know anything about me because people are using this against me. And I had that story I started to write. So in this span of time, in this last year and a half, I've really done a lot of work around how I'm communicating with my friends, how I'm showing up, because they had every right in many ways to start to ask me questions and go, like, you used to talk to us all the time, you used to tell us everything. And I wasn't very good at communicating what I was trying to do, and I got better and better. And this is the same, like exactly what we're talking about. Communication is so key, but if you don't know yourself, you're not going to be able to know how to communicate with anybody else. You just won't. And so I had to learn and understand what my standards were, what my likes and dislikes were in this world, right? Because being a people pleaser, I was a chameleon. You said this, I'm like, oh, same. I'm the same way. That's so weird. And they're like, and I like, it could be that I did like it, but not to the degree of like, I'm like, oh my God, we're like twins. It was never like, I was crazy chameleon, and people are like, oh my God, she's so easy to get along with. And I was, but then I wasn't also standing in my truth. So then I would get resentful when my truth I would be able to speak it. And I'm like, crap, I already said this over here. I'm mad at myself because I'm lying to myself, right? And so all of these things I just started to learn over this past year and a half in such an extreme way, where I thought, again, like we just talked about, I thought I had healed a lot of these aspects of myself. And that just wasn't the case. I was not healed in that way. And so it's amazing what taking time, at least for me. Some people don't necessarily have that luxury. They might be in the marriage when they're starting to truly step into the work that they're doing. For me, I needed to be single in order to understand what I wanted from my next relationship, how I wanted to show up. I want a conscious partner, and I want that love in a different way. And being single has allowed me that space. And now I'm ready. Like now it's like all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm ready now. I'm here. Let's do this. But beautiful. It's been a journey for sure.
God, I hope people can relate to that. I really, I do 1000%. I was a serial monogamous relationship person,
Oh, yeah.
And I made a career on being a people pleaser. I won awards at that, and it's really a mind bend too, because as you get better at it, it has these weird rewards, but you get more away from what actually matters to you. You can get lost inside of it. So I just think it's such a it's just great to be aware of that and to start to talk about it. I didn't think I ever could do anything about that. And it was really for me also. And when I finally, I was in so much pain that for me, I was like, I was just pouring alcohol and drugs onto it. I was like trying to stop drinking and like trying to stop smoking pot, but I couldn't. I was doing more. And so I had to ask for help, and I ended up getting sober for like 7 years. And it was in the first 6 months that I finally said I got out of a relationship that wasn't serving me. I was like, I'm going to nurture this relationship with me. And I started to love myself and even find all these different parts of myself. And I was trying to be single, and that's actually when I met my wife. We were like both trying to be single that time and work on ourselves, but I think that's what allowed us to come together. And yeah, I would have liked to have done a lot more of this work before I met her. You know, it's very challenging in relationships. This stuff's painful, especially when you're not aware of it. And even if you are, I mean, I come from a background of family and therapy their whole lives and like analyzing everything, but like no amount of knowledge always necessarily makes a difference. But if you can embody it, right, start to feel it in your body, I think that's where the shifts can happen. You can allow it to move. Like there's this man I was speaking to yesterday about, we were talking about working together, and literally his body is attacking itself. He has an autoimmune disorder, disease, like things are coming out because of stuff that's not being dealt with, right? And it's literally energy inside that we need to allow out, and you know, him looking for outside sources of love to fill this, because he just feels like he's given up, and to try to explain or help someone understand that it's actually an inside out job, that it's not out there, it's like in here. And that can feel, if you're lonely, that can feel more lonely. So I got why that can be really scary, and that's probably why I avoided some of that work for most of my life. It took me really, all the people who taught me meditation were like girlfriends, and then they'd break up with me because I couldn't keep my shit together. You know, I try to attract people healthier, more spiritual, and it just like, I had to do the work. You know, no person can do it for you, but people I find are wonderful guides. And like I follow John and I follow Candace because I learn from you all every day, and just how to like open my perspective and you know, to get in your body, to have more fun. And I appreciate you, Candace, talking about like the creative expression and all the ways you put yourself out there, and that helps you, right? And so, and we're all here just because we want to help other people.
Yes.
But I think because we've served ourselves, you know, there's coaches who haven't done the work, who are out there trying to give answers, and we're not trying to provide answers. I think we just want to like support and serve.
Yes, that's all it's about. It really is. Client calls. There's moments where, because this is my job, right, and we have this idea of what a job means, right? My internet, we have this idea of what the label of job, right? And I actually have to tell myself over and over again as I'm sitting with somebody that I'm here to hold space for them. And it's a connection that we have in that moment that sometimes it doesn't need to look any such way. But when we have a label of it's a job in our minds, all of a sudden it's like, I need to perform in this way because it's my job. And I'm like, no, this is actually something that I get to do where I don't have to label it any which way. The more I connect to myself, the more I connect to my body, my mind, my heart, I actually intuitively know how to help somebody, how to just be there in the way that they need me to be there without it having to look a particular way. And which is why I have to be very mindful before I get on calls with clients. Because if I go straight and I'm in this rush mentality and I'm like, okay, I got to get on client call 2, and then I had this, and I've got to do this over here, I'm not present. I'm still in whatever I was in an hour or 2 ago. And it's, you know, allowing people to open their hearts in that way. And that's a very sacred space, because some people have never gotten that chance to truly let what's in their heart out in a way that they feel safe doing it. And it's so rewarding to watch somebody allow themselves to let that out, because that's energy, like we've been talking about. That's energy that's stuck inside of you. And the more you keep that stuck inside of you, you will notice that you'll have ailments. You'll notice that you'll start to, like I did the same thing. I developed an autoimmune disease called iritis. And I was going back into some really self-sabotaging behavior. And you bringing that up, I was like, oh my gosh, it was like my body was like, hello, you need to stop. You need to stop what you're doing and really start to understand that you're hurting yourself right now and you're making decisions. And now in retrospect, looking back on that, I can see that. But
so what did you do, Candace? Like for like someone who's dealing with that right now, like what did you do? What helped? I mean, I know there's no like
is that
yay.
Yeah.
Swear.
Just a little
able
breath.
to bring John back on Instagram, but I'm gonna get him back on magic style.
Awesome.
Cool.
So what did you ask me? What
what did you do to help heal your body of this autoimmune disorder?
It actually was something that iritis is all of a sudden I had, my eye was like like fire truck red. And it came out of nowhere. But I had also I was working in the restaurant industry again, a place I did not like. It was not healthy for me. I started smoking cigarettes occasionally again. I started drinking a lot. And basically my body, I had never gotten it again. But there were so many things that kept happening to me. And this is what's so important to realize, that we like to make, at least this is what I've noticed with all human beings, is making those excuses. Like, oh, this must just be because of this, or I would kind of write things off a lot of the time and not really try and understand anything and just keep moving forward. And that's actually, I started to get myself and started to create new connections with people that weren't a part of this particular life that I had.
New
and
connections.
The more that I actually,
yes,
that exactly. And then I, when I first moved here too, I started running the Orange Theory Fitness down the street. And so taking on that job actually really helped me. I got back into my body again. I really started taking care of myself. And then I actually made a lot of connections while I was there. But I was also thrown a lot of interesting connections as well it was actually almost like these people came into my life so that I could start to see that my people pleasing actually brought in a lot of these types of connections. I was dealing with like a sociopath that was like, and I normally would try and justify certain people's behavior all the time and still stay friends with them. I like to be the hero. I like to save people, right? But then what do? When we do that, we instantly make them a victim. And so it was like all of these things were happening at once. And so I was creating them, but it was also my awareness of, oh, wow, like this is a trend. Like I'm now in a new environment. I've now switched environments and I'm still bringing in these same types of people. Interesting. So it was in my own awareness of my own patterns. And I also have really close friends that I've had for a long time, that I'm able to have very in-depth conversations with. And I finally truly actually started to listen to certain things that they were saying, where before I was very good at, I'm like, oh, well, that's just because you're going through something. That's why you're saying this to me. And I realized I wasn't trusting. I wasn't trusting of the people that had actually shown up in my life time and time again. And the more I started to understand these connections, the more I started to awaken to what I actually wanted on my path. And getting that iritis was actually just like the start of me kind of having some understanding that I was hurting myself, my physical body. And that kind of led me down this road, weirdly enough. And I didn't realize that until you brought up your, like the thing that you brought up with your client or your friend with the autoimmune disease. I didn't even correlate the two. And now just, you brought me back. I was like, oh my God. Okay. I see it. Yeah.
I want to go back real quick to what Ben was talking about with the loop that you were in with your wife. And, you know, a female friend of mine, she was talking about like how men are sometimes in a state of mansplaining things. And I just like laugh because it's funny, and it's really weird how men do try to justify, logicalize, like analyze everything, even in a fight situation. And what you said, Ben, earlier was like, how do we hold space for the other person? And how can we breathe and just let it process and heal? So just want to share with any men watching the masculine, I feel like the feminine has been rising like for years. And the masculine is like, wait, what's happening? Like they're like 10 feet in front of us, like brothers. It's time to rise up. And how we can rise up is not trying to fix, not trying to analyze and break things apart and pick it apart, but really just to hold space and allow the feminine to breathe. And I have a teacher, he's like an old guy, he's like 72 years old, yoga teacher, and he said, you know, one of the best things we can do when we're with our partner and they just get mad, they have anger, their emotions are like exploding, is to look at them like they're a volcano and just say, wow, look how beautiful this volcano is just exploding, and just honor that fire, that energy, because it's part of the human spectrum, it's part of the human emotions, and just not make it wrong. And how can we breathe through it without explaining like, why are you mad, why are you being like that? Just to honor that beauty and let them and so yeah, I'm learning myself. And those relationship dynamics are where I say it's like the Super Bowl. Like we there's practice moments, like we're talking about it, is like our practice drills, and then game day is when there's a fight with a partner, and then the Super Bowl is like when we're super triggered and we're like, holy shit, do I just go back into the sidelines and just throw in the towel, or do I fight it, or what do I do right now? And it's like, you got to step in, step up, and yeah. So I like analogies.
I love that.
This is so good. And while we're talking about this, thank you for sharing that, John. I just want to show you real quick. So this is my friend's dog who we're staying with. This is Mia.
Oh, wow.
And Mia, you can see, is right on my foot, because as we're talking about anxious attachment styles, Mia has that.
Oh, like, yeah.
She's a rescue, and we've bonded. She literally crawls in our lap while we work outside, and that's why I'm here a lot. And so while we were talking about it, she's been anxious, and she just came and finally laid at my feet. I've been sending her some healing energy to give her permission to calm down, but we can actually pass this on to our animals too, you know. And so if your dog is anxious, consider that maybe something in yourself also you want to look at. Like, and I want to acknowledge some comments here, because Ruth Koch is talking. She's actually she works with animals, animal rescue. I hadn't even put that together, but she said, you know, the body is an amazing machine, and it knows when it's out of oil. It'll give warning lights, right? So you having these things are warning lights. Like, I started to gain a lot of weight suddenly in my stomach right after my dad passed. I was grieving this certain way, but there was something I wasn't dealing with.
Yeah.
And I allowed it, right? Like, I even went into it. I ate more. I started smoking pot again. I was like, you know, I let myself go in. But then, you know, it was a point where my body was like, it was just uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, body, thank you for continuing to remind me, right, to like what works and what doesn't work for me. And like slowly I got back. And one of the things that I want to point out that my teacher Daniel also said the other day is, he's like a teacher, a friend. Yeah, I feel like we learn from everyone. But Daniel Tuttle. He calls himself the provocative intuitive. He's fabulous, and he said, oh my God, am I gonna lose it? Am I gonna lose it now? I have to go. Like, oh, I really want to share this with you. Oh, it was gold there. I think it's gone now. It'll come back.
Breathe.
Yeah, it'll come back. We're talking about the body talking back and giving these signals, and the anxious attachment. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna let it go now. I want to share one other comment from a viewer, Junkie Love Yogi, said, I've experienced it when I clear out old traumas that come up, that in other people it doesn't trigger me anymore because I've cleared it. So what actually triggers me is my work without blaming others. So this is, just the stuff that we have to try on for ourselves, and be kind to ourselves during this.
That's the thing we don't realize sometimes either when we're stuck in our own stuff, that we are blaming. We're blaming what our circumstances, we're blaming, other people, the connections that we have as to why things are happening or occurring in our life the way that they are. And that's actually what trips us up the most, and energetically, right? And you're putting that energy back out into the world by blaming everything else and focusing your attention outwardly instead of inward. And that was a big thing for me on my journey. I made all of these choices myself, right? I said yes to all of these things. I got into this connection the way that I did. I could have said no, and the more you can show up from that space, and that I find that even like John, what you were talking about is I'm actually able to hold space with my connection so much easier and better, and with compassion, and allowing people to just spill out what they need to spill out without feeling this need to have something to say back, or let me fix you, or now you're triggering me and I need to say what I need to say so that you understand my point of view. And that doesn't happen for me as much. But again, we all we don't know what's going to trigger us. But I noticed that when I do focus and realize that always focus on yourself. And if you said yes to something, it doesn't go the way that you want, and you instantly want to go outward and blame it on everybody else, you said yes to it. That's it. You decided that was your choice. So you got to show up in that way too. And that's hard to do at first, is to own those choices. That was really hard for me at first. I was like, yep, the reason why I'm here is because I made these choices. All I can do is know that now, and from this space move into new energy, to new ways of dealing with it, understanding that we're all a divine mirror to each other.
A divine mirror, yes.
I love that, Candace. It's like why am I always in this situation where this is happening? Oh, because I chose it. Yeah. Like that. Like, why is this car always honking at or not starting? What's the deal? Oh yeah, because I bought that one. So totally.
And what if you could try on that any relationship in your life or anything that isn't working is actually something that you're choosing, that actually is serving, you're getting some benefit from it. I love to think about this with myself, where can I take responsibility? Because it's so easy when you start seeing it to see it in other people, and oh, that's toxic, and look how they're behaving, blah blah blah. But if they're in your life, you've invited that energy in, some part of you, and as difficult as that can be to sit with, the great news I think is that you can also invite something different in, if you're really willing to let go. But one of the scariest things is giving yourself that permission to let go. I remember what I was going to say.
Yes.
This is because it just hit me so much. I want to share this. Can we give ourselves permission to learn a lesson without having to be in enormous amounts of pain.
Mm.
Like I was thinking when I was grieving and I was going through this, and I always feel like I have to learn the hard way. I've always told people that. But what if we could give ourselves permission to learn these lessons without having to go through the trauma or through the drama or through another breakup or through excruciating pain? You know, could we give ourselves space to heal and grow without having to always, you know, hurt ourselves or self-sabotage to move forward? Something I still have to work on.
I love that, Ben. It's like there's a quote, and I can't remember the exact way it goes, but it's like you'll keep repeating lessons until you've learned what you need to learn from them. And I think that's kind of the key is like, can we move forward in another relationship without being hurt? And if we've learned what we've needed to learn from certain behaviors and what we'll tolerate, then we either choose for that relationship or we choose a different one, right? So if we say, you know, I don't like to be triggered by avoidance, and then let's say if I go on a few dates with someone that is avoidant, then I know, like, well, I can choose to be in the same situation again, or what did I learn last time? And maybe this isn't the one or something. But it's just, and then the other thing is every time we've been hurt, instead of like, I've learned to not say like, why me, or why, like, not the why part, but like, what did I learn from this? What did this teach me?
Yeah.
And that's been the most healing thing, is just to sit with like the facts, like what did I learn? And it's made it less I think it's like the 4 agreements, like don't take things personally, like things happen in life and it's all our perspective from that point that creates that story, and the story can stick with us or it can be a lesson. So
it's so true. I mean, I was actually watching Aaron Doughty with the shift experience, which I love how he shows up. He was talking about how our energy is like a radio station, right? And we have the choice to either, like, if you're not liking that station that you're on, then vibrate and turn the station and vibrate at a different level. If you want to vibrate from this negative space of pain, and I last month I was there, like I could not seem to get myself out of this space of just feeling like lonely. Like I was all of a sudden, right when I realized I didn't want to be single anymore, all of a sudden my mindset went to like, I'm so lonely. And I was fine for a while. Like I wasn't even thinking about it, but it was like I couldn't get out of the pain of that feeling. And so what am I doing when I'm keeping my heart closed because I'm upset that I'm lonely, right? So I'm actually vibrating, I'm going out into the world, vibrating from this space, keeping my heart closed, the very thing that I don't want to be doing, right? I'm actually doing the exact opposite of what I want. I want to bring love in, but because I'm staying in the mindset of that pain, right? Instead of vibrating from a place of love, I was keeping myself stuck. I was finding it difficult to do any of the things that I love to do. And it was because I was hyper focused on the fact that I was lonely, that I now want a partner. Oh my gosh, I want this so bad. And so, like anything, right? When we want something, the universe, like you're like, I want it. And then you have that needy, anxious energy. I want it so bad. I want it so bad that you're actually not vibrating in a level that you're bringing that into your life.
yeah, want means you don't have it. Like,
yes,
I want love. That means, well, that obviously means I don't have it. So I want it. It's outside of me. But if we vibrate at love, then we are.
And it's okay to want
it attracts it.
But if you're coming from scarcity, then guess what you're going to get more of. Right. Or if you say, I don't want people with anxious attachment styles, and you're really focusing on not wanting someone who has that, guess what you might attract more of. So what are the things you actually would like more of, and what would that bright vibration feel like if you had that now?
Exactly, because when it comes in, you'll know, and you're not operating from this needy place of like, I just need somebody, right? part of me has a hard time with dating sites and things like that. One, because it feels like like I need something to, but I also have a very difficult time trying to get to know somebody from like an app, or like where I don't get to actually feel their energy. So those types of things have always felt like that to me, of this, like, I need it so bad that I'm going to go through this list of people and try and get it this way. But I've had to rewrite story. Again, everything is just your perspective, right? It's a story that you're telling yourself, that you're writing. It's your belief, and you have the power every single day to change that belief, to have you following in a direction that's actually for your highest good. And the more I show up and remember that over and like, I have to tell myself that a lot. Again, because I was stuck in that pain.
Actually, I think it was
great.
What? Will you say that again? You said I have to tell myself that again. I was like, I want to hear that again.
I don't even know. Sometimes I feel like I'm channeling things, and then like somebody will tell me to repeat myself. I'm like, what did I just say?
Okay, sorry.
It was amazing. Yeah. So I basically, I tell myself that I need to operate from this place of showing up with love. I don't actually remember exactly what I just said. I was like on a kick. Hopefully somebody else can maybe put it in the comments.
Yeah. No, it was good.
Hilarious.
It was gonna hit me.
I know, you stopped me and I was like, I don't know what else. All is good.
I was about to be like, and that's an amazing way to close the show.
Shoot. Classic.
Hey, I'm unattached, so let go.
I'm not attached to it either, but yes, it's just all how you show up, really, and having that awareness and realizing that I always have to remember that I'm the one that's keeping me in this space. That's it, right? And I have the ability to get myself out of it. And it's really hard because sometimes when you're in pain, you want somebody else to fix it for you, or you just are like, I need something to help me. And that's usually where self-sabotaging behavior comes in, drinking, and like you want to numb that feeling, and because it's hurtful and it's painful and you don't like it. And so I found myself drinking a lot of wine this past month at night, way more than I normally do. And I'm like, okay, I always know that when I start to do that and have those behaviors, I'm not addressing something. I'm really just trying to let the days go by as quickly as possible so that eventually I might get out of this space. I'm going to do it. I can show up different the next day. And that's really, we forget that we have that power, and that power kind of feels difficult, but once you're in it, that's when the motivation actually starts. When I start to see I started painting again, and I was like, see, like that just brought me joy of like seeing what I can create. Right. So,
and your painting brings me joy. So you never know what it'll happen when you create something.
You definitely have to take it into your own hands, and it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
Well, I think this is a good place to wrap up. Because, well, it's about that time, and we're right back to where we talked about with bodies and getting into your body and just taking a different action and starting to choose what you can be responsible for. And look at that, own it, have fun with it. And wow, I've just been so present that these things, when I'm trying to come up with something, it's flowing. So I'm just gonna let it go, and I want to say thank you. And I remember now what I was gonna say. Ruth Koch, who's been listening and responding, she did correct me. She helps connect service dogs with veterans, which is really beautiful for healing. And also she said, because we're all coaches here, and she said, I think of life coaches as a friend who will tell you the truth. No questions asked instead of sugarcoating it, but also someone who will ask you questions. Like, you don't have to have answers. So we're not here to give answers. We're here to hold space and empower you. And so I hope that this has resonated with some of you. And please follow Candace. Please follow John. And let us know what resonates. Like, tag a friend who might benefit from this. Comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, so that we can get this message out. And John, I wanted to invite you to close
Wow.
us out together today. And,
I think-
and just say also thank you, Candace, thank you so much for giving your time so generously and showing up here and being so vulnerable and open with us. I know I've learned a lot today, and I'm really grateful for this conversation with both of you. It's been really beautiful.
Yes, thank you so much for having me too. These types of conversations fill my cup. So I love being a part of it. I hope to be a part of it again. So thank you both, truly.
Yes, absolutely. Our pleasure.
Thank you, Candace, so much. Thank you, Ben. All right, so if you're watching and if you're not driving, just go ahead and close your eyes. Place your palms on your lap and take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it at the top. Deep breath out the mouth. And as you go about your Monday, just visualize 3 miracles in your life. Any miracle, any experience that you're grateful for today. Take a deep breath in. Hold it on top. And allow the magic of whatever brought you here, that miracle, that thing, that person, as you exhale, let it land in your heart. And gently open your eyes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Divine Masculine Mondays. Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Ben. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it or tag a friend. It'll be posted to our Instagrams. I think probably Ben's Instagram, because I think
We'll
he
see if they'll
records.
let me
You're
do
the
it.
host.
Yeah, we'll definitely get it there, but I'll get recordings out to all of you. And if you'd like a recording at home, send me a DM or just watch it again.
Yes.
Yes.
But follow these guys for sure. We will all keep creating content to hopefully continue move the needle forward for all of us and create more love and compassion in the world. And I'm so grateful for you guys.
And if you have a topic, that you want us to talk about next week, message us and just say, hey, I really want to dive deeper into attachment styles or issues like a trauma, a wound, something that you wanted us to like dive into. Let us know.
We're happy to unpack. If you don't want to share about your relationship, you could share vaguely about it, and then we'll take it on, pretend it's ours, and talk about it.
Or take an attachment style quiz and message us. Let us know what your attachment style is.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Well, happy Monday, guys. Take care, guys, gals, and everyone in between. Happy Pride. It's Pride New York, so just celebrating your self-expression, whatever it looks like.
Absolutely. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.